Austin, Texas. A city alive with music, neon, and noise. By day, it's a place of sunshine, food trucks, joggers along the river trail, families taking photos by the water. But when night falls, something else comes alive. Rainey Street, a strip of historic houses converted into bars. On weekends, it thrums with life. Crowds spill into the street, intoxicated, laughing, vanishing into the chaos of music and liquor. Just a few blocks away lies Lady Bird Lake. At first glance, it's beautiful. A calm stretch of water running through the heart of the city. But beneath its surface lies a story of shadows. For years, bodies have surfaced here. Dozens of them. Almost always the same type of victim. Young men, often in their 20s or 30s, last seen leaving bars on Rainey Street. Hours later, their bodies are discovered floating in the lake. The police call them accidents. They blame alcohol, poor decisions, and dangerous shorelines. But the families don't believe it. The witnesses don't believe it. And the sheer number of cases doesn't believe it. And from those doubts, a legend has grown. A name whispered across social media, in hushed tones in bars, and on late-night true crime podcasts. They call it the Rainey Street Ripper. The earliest whispers trace back to the early 2000s, a few cases here and there written off as tragic drownings. In 2005, Michael Shaver, 27, was last seen stumbling out of a Rainey Street bar. Friends thought he'd gone home. He never arrived. His body was found 2 days later in Lady Bird Lake, floating fully clothed, wallet still in his pocket. In 2008, Julian Hernandez disappeared after a night of drinking. Surveillance cameras caught him walking alone toward the lake. Days later, his body surfaced. No signs of struggle, no robbery. Each case was marked the same: drowning. Families began to ask questions. How could grown men, many of them strong swimmers, end up drowned in water that was sometimes only waist deep? In 2010, the case of Anthony Diaz, 24, shook locals. He'd been out with friends, described as happy and only lightly intoxicated. He vanished near the waterfront. When his body was recovered, it showed no obvious injuries. The police shrugged. His family insisted Anthony wasn't the type to just fall in. And so the whispers began. At first, they were only rumors, but as the bodies continued to appear, the pattern became harder to ignore. Austin had a problem, and Lady Bird Lake was hiding it. By the 2010s, the count was rising fast. Between 2014 and 2022, more than 30 men were found dead in Lady Bird Lake. The similarities were chilling, most of them between 22 and 35 years old. All were last seen on Rainey Street. Many disappeared within minutes of being separated from friends. Nearly all were found fully clothed, wallets and phones still intact. Stephen Doherty, 2014, was a graduate student with no history of depression or reckless behavior. Friends said he wasn't even drunk, yet he vanished and was later found in the lake. In 2018, Martin Gutierrez, 25, disappeared after walking away from his group. His friends insist he was sober and in good spirits. His body was discovered floating days later. Then came 2022 and 2023. In a span of just 14 months, nearly a dozen bodies were recovered. Too many for the public to ignore. Police statements followed a script. There is no evidence of foul play, alcohol, and unsafe conditions are likely contributing factors. But the public wasn't convinced. Online forums erupted with theories. Families of victims began to organize, holding vigils by the lake. Protesters carried signs. "Who is killing our sons?" Some pointed to the smiley face killer theory, a series of suspicious drownings across the Midwest that shared almost identical details. The FBI dismissed the theory, but Austin locals saw the resemblance. Could Austin have its own killer? Or worse, a group? Every time another body was pulled from Lady Bird Lake, the whispers grew louder. Urban legend or not, the fear became harder to ignore when the survivors started speaking. In 2019, a young man told police he blacked out after only 2 drinks. He woke up hours later soaked in mud near the water. He swore he'd been drugged. His blood tests were inconclusive. Another survivor in 2021 claimed he was being followed by 2 strangers after leaving a bar. They trailed him to where the lake, whispering and laughing. He ran, and when he turned around, they were gone. Residents living in apartments near the water began to report strange noises, splashes at 3 a.m, screams that sounded faint, muffled as if underwater. When they looked outside, the lake was calm. Joggers along the trail added their own stories. Some said they saw figures waist deep in the water at dawn, standing motionless, watching. When they blinked, the figures sank beneath the surface without a ripple. Not all of these accounts can be verified, but they build something stronger than evidence: fear. And by 2023, the fear became rage. Multiple bodies were recovered in just a few months. Residents gathered to demand answers, but the official line never changed. No signs of foul play. The phrase became a punchline. On social media, people mocked it, turning it into hashtags. People shouted it at protests, dripping with anger. How could dozens of identical drownings be called accidents? The legend grew, not because of evidence, but because of silence. The authorities dismissed it, families begged for answers, and in that vacuum, the internet gave the story a name: the Rainey Street Ripper. Some believe it's one man, a hunter, a shadow that blends into the crowds of Rainey Street, waiting for the drunk, the alone, the vulnerable. He follows them into the dark, and they never come back. Others believe it's organized, a group of predators working together. And some believe it isn't human at all. The Lady Bird Lake itself is cursed, that the water pulls men under, trapping their souls. Whatever the truth is, the name stuck. Now, when another body is pulled from Lady Bird Lake, people don't say accident. They whisper, "The Ripper took another one." The evidence may be thin, but the fear, it's undeniable. So what is Lady Bird Lake hiding? Is it coincidence? A string of tragic accidents caused by alcohol, poor choices, and a dangerous shoreline? Or is it something darker? A predator who stalks Rainey Street under the neon lights, following his prey into the shadows? The police say no. The families say yes. And the city is trapped in between. One thing is certain. The legend is alive. Because every city has its stories. And in Austin, the story is this: if you walk Rainey Street alone at night, you may never walk home.